Welcome to the Northgate Orenzo Reality Coffee Break Series. In this series, we will be discussing how to set up and use transaction logging. Transaction logging saves changes made on the database to a dedicated log disk. If the database becomes corrupted by an application or system failure, the most recent version of the database can be recovered by restoring the most recent backup and reapplying the log changes to the database. Transaction logging also allows you to restore data based on selection criteria, thereby allowing you to restore one or several data files to a known state should an application or user error occur. Transaction logging saves transactions, which are a set of related changes defined by the application software and independent updates. A transaction is a set of related updates made to the database, which are logically grouped together by start, end, and abort transaction boundary commands. Two records are written to the raw log, a before image and an after image. For an independent update, only an after image is written to the raw log. Refer to the reality documentation, resiliency, and the section about transaction handling if you wish to know more on the subject. In this series, we'll be discussing only independent updates, which are individual changes to a database, not inside a transaction. All independent updates to the last few seconds before failure are logged. Two log files must exist for the operation of transaction logging. A raw log partition, which acts as a central repository for all logged before and after images of transactions, and independent updates. The second log is a structured host system file which provides a permanent storage of images transferred from the raw log, referred to as the clean log. To begin the configuration of transaction logging, we will set up a raw log and clean log. If using transaction boundaries, transaction handling, the size of the raw log is based upon total size of all transactions occur to complete transaction. In this example, we will create a raw log size of 500 meg. However, typically the raw log is made at 2 gigabytes. First, we want to stop the reality process. We'll do that by issuing the realserv command. This will stop the reality process. Next step, we'll make the raw log. We're going to make it a size of 500 meg. We're going to give it a location of where we're going to make the raw log. And we're going to give it a link which points to where the raw log exists. Once the raw log is created, we can go ahead and start reality process back up again. We also want to make a directory for the clean logs. For simplicity's sake, we're going to call this clean. I've already made this directory, so I'm just going to type in the command to make the directory, but I'm not actually going to make it. We have a clean log directory. And you'll notice within this directory there's a subdirectory called testdb. Testdb is the name of our reality database, since you can have multiple databases on the system. This allows each one to run transaction logging if you wanted to. Setup and administration of transaction logging is done from using the TL menu command, followed by the database name of which you want to configure or administer transaction logging. So we're going to go ahead and go into TL menu, specifying our database. We're going to select option 2, configure and setup. We're going to select option 1, redefine the database configuration. Do we want to do this? Yes, we do. We're going to select standalone transaction logging. That's already been configured in this case, but we're just going to reconfigure it, so we'll say yes to this. In this case, we don't want rapid recovery, so we'll say no. And we're going to put in the full path name of the clean log, which we created before. It's going to ask us to create the subdirectory. Remember, our database name is testdb, so it's going to create a subdirectory with that name of the database. We'll say yes to this. Clean log subdirectory testdb already exists. Is it okay to overwrite? We're reconfiguring, so it already exists, but we'll overwrite it. Is this okay? Yes, it is. And that finishes the setup of transaction logging. We hit return. And now we want to start transaction logging. So we're going to select number 2. Do we want to do this? Yes. We're going to let the system select a log for us. So we're going to select number 1. We want to start transaction logging. So we're going to say yes to this. Are all users logged off? Yes. And now transaction logging is now started. We hit return a few times to get out of TL menu. Now with transaction logging running, in the event of a database disaster or application failure, the database can be recovered back to the last update made to the C-log. If failure occurred before a transaction completes, updates are rolled back automatically. Another advantage of running transaction logging is data can be recovered by specifying specific criteria, such as a specific file recovering data between a certain period of time. Let's go through the procedure recovering a file between a certain time frame. So we're going to go ahead and log on to the database. Now I'm going to list out a clean log and specify a particular file. So I have a file named test. I'm going to list out the time that it was updated. You'll notice that there's updates, 4 updates. Between 1623, or there's 4 updates between 16 or at 1632, and 3 updates at 1634. So I'm going to restore the updates that occurred at 1632. In this case, I'm going to clear out the file. I'm going to select those updates that occurred at 1632. And then I'm going to go ahead and restore those updates. You can see that 4 items have been restored. This completes this discussion of transaction logging. I hope you found it useful. Thank you, and I hope you will join us for the next coffee break series.